It is the custom that the major address of the AALS presidents occurs when they begin their presidential year, as AALS President-elect Wendy Collins Perdue of the University of Richmond School of Law will address this House tomorrow afternoon. Today, before we honor our colleagues and I conclude my year as president of the AALS, I would like to speak briefly about that year. A year ago in San Francisco, I stood before you and expressed my appreciation for the opportunity to serve as AALS president. I also mused with you about whether we would see any major changes develop in the coming 12 months. I am happy to report that not much has happened. Hardly anything noteworthy since last January. Really, it's been quite an uneventful year everywhere. Same old, right? Can you imagine? I couldn't have a year ago. In the past year, we've seen a new administration in Washington. We've had parts of our nation and some of our member schools struggle with awful weather disasters. As Americans, we have repeatedly seen communities suffer through terrible man-made calamities. As people working in higher education, as we all are, we have faced proposals coming out of our federal government that directly confront our schools, our faculties, and our students. In a host of areas such as healthcare, immigration, tax reform, treatment of our fellow transgender citizens, we have seen offered legislation and regulatory changes which would lead to serious consequences for many in our community. And I am proud to say, truly proud to say, your AALS has responded forcefully, often, and I believe with some real impact throughout this time. So many changes since we last met. But one area has not changed. And many of you were with me this morning at the plenary session talking about access to justice. There, my distinguished colleagues offered some roadmaps for dealing with serious problems, but made clear that these problems in both civil representation and the right to counsel in criminal cases remain as they have for many years. I said back in San Francisco that assisting those in need was a high calling for all of us privileged to serve on law faculties. As Justice Sotomayor put it, we educated, privileged lawyers have a professional and moral duty to represent the underrepresented in our society, to ensure that justice exists for all, both legal and economic justice. That is certainly the case, and you, my friends, have proved her right. Since becoming an officer of this association, I've traveled to many schools throughout the nation, from North Carolina Central University in the East, to the University of Dayton in the Midwest, to UCLA in the West, and a number of points in between. I have read, as have you, in our newsletter, that we have thousands of American law students who provide each year services to the poor measuring in the many millions of dollars of time. Our faculty colleagues have stepped up in the face of terrible injustice regarding the right to travel in and out of our nation, as we witnessed in such stirring fashion last year in airports and inner-city gatherings throughout the United States just after our San Francisco meeting. We have clinics throughout the country which greatly benefit our students and mightily serve those who do not ordinarily receive sound legal assistance. From veterans to those unfairly accused of crime, to crime victims, to the elderly, to young students with special needs, our clinics provide great support to those in need. Not too long ago, I was in Chicago, and I met with 7 law deans from that region. I was so struck by the innovative and significant programs these schools have developed, programs which directly move toward educating our students and achieving access to justice for many. There's the Domestic Violence Advocacy Program at John Marshall in Chicago, the Foreclosure Mediation Clinic at Northern Illinois, the Juvenile Justice Program at Southern Illinois, Notre Dame's Economic Justice Clinic, the Health Justice Project at Loyola of Chicago, Chicago Kent Center for Open Government, and DePaul's Asylum and Immigration Law Clinic. These are but a few of the many, many ways in which law schools, faculty, colleagues, and our students make a genuine difference in the way poor people in our nation are served by the law. Justice Scalia was surely right when he wrote, "Without access to quality representation, there is no justice." As I come to the end of my term as AALS President, I must express appreciation to many, to the hundreds and hundreds of law faculty, literally hundreds and hundreds, who make the AALS succeed through the diligent work as volunteers in a host of areas. We have more than 100 sections and dozens of high-level programs that we are seeing right this week. To the terrific AALS staff who work seemingly endless hours to make this conference a success and to support all that we do. To my predecessor, Kelly Testy, now heading up LSAC. Kelly, I have to say, we miss you a lot on the board. To my successor, Wendy Perdue. Wendy, you are going to be a great president of this association. To the dedicated and creative colleagues with whom I've served on the executive committee of the association, you made it all positive, and all of it was fun, too. Well, let's be honest, it wasn't all fun, but some of it was fun. A fair amount of it was fun. And finally, to Judy Areen, our remarkable executive director. So much good that happens with the AALS, truly, is because of you, Judy. You're wise, you're thoughtful, and you're caring, and I thank you very much.